Alongside Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the pledge of avenging every tear of the loved ones of those 26 lives that were brutally killed after identifying them, singling them out as Hindus on the 22nd of April by these terrorists. We dedicate another edition of the Right Stand, this Friday edition, with the same Pahalgam vow. Bharat has shown restraint up until now, but enough is enough. And it's time that Bharat will make Pakistan pay, punish the terrorists and their akas with severe punitive action. But does this punitive action mean firing a few projectiles towards the Dushman? Or should it be more complete, comprehensive dismantling of the enemy establishment, dismembering them altogether? Not time-bound, but result-driven. And the focus is dismantling this enemy establishment. We'll talk more on that, but first up, let's bring you up to speed on the latest investigation details. Where has the investigation gone forth so far? There's been a lot of activity. The NIA DG has been in Pahalgam, in Baisaran Valley. The NIA team was also present there. Now, police sources are telling CNN News 18, 90 overground workers have been arrested under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act in Jammu and Kashmir after the Pahalgam attack. So nearly 2,500 were rounded up, but out of that about 90 of them have been arrested. NIA sources further have told CNN News 18 that it is using advanced forensic methods including satellite imagery, drone footage and detailed witness accounts including those from victims' families, the khacharwalas or pony operators, vendors and local workers to digitally reconstruct the entire crime scene of the Pahalgam terror attack and also to determine the routes that they had taken. Now, NIA sources have further told CNN News 18 that the agency combined technical and human int to build a high-resolution 3D model of the scene, helping investigators trace every movement and bullet trajectory linked to the attack. The 3D mapping process uses technologies like LiDAR, drone surveillance and photogrammetry to create high-resolution spatial models, offering investigators precise tools for scene reconstruction and courtroom presentation. Now, sources have further said that the Pahalgam investigation is uniquely challenging due to its civilian focus and proxy warfare dynamics. And unlike the 26/11 Mumbai attacks or the Pulwama bombing, this case does not easily allow Bharat to rally international consensus. Sources also reveal that the terrorists involved in the 2024 Gagangir attack were linked to the Pahalgam incident. At least the mastermind, the person who planned and executed it on ground, Abu Hashim Musa, has been linked. However, no connection has been found suggesting that they came from the Chenab Valley side. Investigators believe that they did not travel via that route. Now, detailed communication analysis has so far found that the terrorists did not speak to any locals and used encrypted channels to communicate. Sources have further added. Sources revealed that NIA investigators are scanning the communication records of relatives and families of local terrorists in search of any leads. Combing operations are currently underway. They are in hot pursuit and they have been surrounded. It's a matter of time, but yes, it is testing our patience. Officials suspect that the terrorists used thick forest cover to reach the Baisaran Valley, and it's the same forest cover that they have used to escape. It's quite dense. The NIA's probe underscores systematic approach combining forensic science, digital tracking and on-ground intelligence. While progress has been made in identifying suspects and cross-border links, challenges remain in neutralizing the terrorists and addressing certain systemic security lapses. And we'll come to that in a bit. Now, Pakistan is a safe haven to these Pahalgam plotters. Saifullah Qasuri, Lashkar's deputy chief. Abu Hashim Musa, Lashkar POK's top commander. Muhammad Nawaz, Lashkar's POK recruitment commander. Abdul Rafa Rasool, Hizbul's operational commander. Abdullah Khalid, Lashkar's field commander. Idris Shaheen, he's a Huji commander. Nearly 20 handlers and terror commanders are operating from Pakistan, while 33 active commanders are currently in Jammu and Kashmir, especially in and around the Kashmir Valley. Bharat has sent to Pakistan nearly 20 letters, rogatories and judicial requests, detailed dossiers, even DNA samples of terrorists related to various terror attacks, including 26/11, Pathankot, Pulwama, Nagrota. But Islamabad so far has chosen to ignore all this evidence. sharing details of individual cases in which Pakistan has been made aware of attacks originating from its soil. Agency sources have told CNN News 18 that these terror masterminds are allowed to operate from a safe haven in Pakistan. Hafiz Saeed, Lashkar-e-Taiba co-founder, he is in a safe house and surrounded by ex-paratroopers. He's a 26/11 attack mastermind. Talha Saeed, son of Hafiz Saeed, recruits, collects funds for terror. He is there in the operational training camps. Masood Azhar, Jaish-e-Mohammed founder, Uri and Pulwama attacks mastermind. He is also getting state-backed protection. Syed Salahuddin, Hizbul Mujahideen founder, planned Pathankot attack. He is also under state-backed protection right now. All of them being moved to safe houses and their movement totally limited. They are quite literally under house arrest there. Zakiur Rahman Lakhvi, another Lashkar commander, planned and executed 26/11 attacks, still a state guest. Shajid Mir, Lashkar's top commander, involved in 26/11 Mumbai attacks. Faratullah Ghori, Pak-based terrorist linked to 2002 Akshardham temple attack. Dawood Ibrahim Kaskar founded the D gang and he continues to run it. 1993 Mumbai blast mastermind. Abdul Rauf Asgar, Jaish-e-Mohammed commander, key conspirator of the 2001 parliament attack. Pakistan has deliberately chosen to ignore Bharat's concerns and allow terrorists to operate, use its soil against Bharat, and the recent one being Pahalgam. We also have a list of about 33 such individuals who are currently in Bharat, in Jammu and Kashmir. That list is out, and each of them, a lot of them linked to the Hizbul Mujahideen, some of them linked to Jaish, some of them linked to Lashkar, some of them linked to outfit called Al-Badr. That list is also out. Those names are there. We have identified them. The tracking is on and we are waiting for the punishment. How soon? Is it right to lose our patience? Is it right to expect something instantly? Or do we have to give the forces, the establishment time so that the enemy is weakened, sweat the enemy out and then bring them to account? Dr. Anand Ranganathan with us, Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni with us here in the studio, and Tilak Devasharji joins us, former member of the NSAB, National Security Advisory Board. Ambassador Deepak Vora should also be joining us in a bit. My namaste and Jai Hind to everybody. Thank you very, very much. Sanjay Kulkarni ji, you know the lay of the land. You've fought wars there. You've shown the Pakistanis their auqat there. They are somebody who don't even claim they're dead. Now we are seeing at the borders, they don't want to claim they're living also. So that nation is the pits. But how are they repeatedly able to get in, kill at will, and then get away? Doesn't this frustrate you?
Thank you, Anand. I think you had a lovely, give a nice little background to all that is happening. Pakistan is a rogue state. It has a tremendous nuisance value. Has been using terrorism as an instrument of state policy right since 1947. So to expect anything else from Pakistan would be asking for more. It won't change. Much that we would want to eradicate the terror source from Pakistan, it's not so easy. It's extremely difficult because it's deeply sunk. We heard the ex-chiefs, the president saying again and again that all these people they have cultivated and they are their heroes. Yeah, this Masood Azhar that you were referring to is the man for whom in 1995 there are 6 foreigners who had been caught, tourist foreigners, 2 Americans, 2 British, 1 Danish, 1 Scandinavian. They ensured that the women were released, they beheaded one escaped, the rest are not known what happened to them, probably all died. Almost a repeat of a similar thing now we see in Pahalgam, all women released, women not touched, men folk chosen. At that point of time they said US is anti-Islamic and therefore we want to convey a message to the Western world. This time they have done again and again asking people whether they were Hindus or Muslims, and they did that, and except for one Muslim boy who died in wanting to save people. So at least that's a huge big thing in today's day. But how is it, your question is, when we have fencing, when we have anti-infiltration measures, we have troops all along, how is it that they manage to come in? That's what is worrisome and
Yeah.
probably,
and this guy Abu Hashim Musa has been operating for at least 6 to 8 months now. He was there in that Zedmo tunnel attack, Gagangir. So he's been scouting. There is a route that he's following, and eventually ended towards Pahalgam.
see, terror and the terrain favors the terrorists. Now, why do I say that? We have fencing, but fencing over a period of time, the kind of snowfall that is there, the higher reaches, the dense forests that are there, and over and above, and to top it up, are the OGWs. When you see the houses, when you've seen Jammu, we
Ji.
call Chak Bandi. That means all the houses have got together in one place, and the village is centrally here, and the rest of it is all agricultural land. That Chak Bandi has not been, is not possible in this higher reaches. So you have isolated houses on the higher reaches, and then you have these Bakarwals and all these people going up. These people, I have operated coordinate search because I was there in that Varwan Valley when these foreign tourists were there in 95, operating in that area. So I know exactly what. You will be surprised, these OGWs are the ones who are supporting them, logistically sustaining them and being paid. Then in 2000, the Pakistan government used to invest 1,000 crores annually into sponsoring militancy, what we now call terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir. 1,000. Today it's maybe about 5,000. Let's put it that. The revenue generation from J&K yearly is only 20,000 crores. We invest a lakh over and above. That means our investment is, which sees the development that you see there, resulting in 2 crore tourists and a huge development, a lot of economic activities. So the people there want to come back to the mainstream and join and be a part of it. Medical colleges coming in, engineering colleges, empowerment, jobs, all of it. But somewhere down the chain, despite the abrogation of Article 370, the separatism, the seed of separatism, which is being sown by the local politicians, hasn't yet gone. That is why you found Engineer Rashid has won election, who's in jail over 3 lakh votes. What does that indicate? That there is a lot still we need to do.
Correct.
To be able to really do away with this separatist cause, which is still there. Much that we are saying that a lot has been done. 90% people are back on this team and would want to be part of it. But there's a sizable portion. 10% is also sizable over there in a small area like the Srinagar Valley. So the terrain, the fog, the mist, the snow, the infiltration, the tunnels, drone, drugs, all of it, and the benefit, the cash that they get, and now it's just not. Earlier it used to be radio. So at least the radio telephone is we could catch communication. Now it's mobile.
No, and it's satellite phones.
It's very difficult to catch what's
and
going on.
they're using highly encrypted apps which don't even show a signal, and they're not even using the same phone more than for a day. So there are a lot of things that they have now advanced and moved up, and they need to get it right only once. We need to get, when our forces need to get it right every time, 10 on 10. But Tilak Devasharji, there must be something that we can do. Are we guilty of not increasing the cost of a terror attack for Pakistan? Have we faulted on the messaging part of it, where we have not made it dear for them? We have not said that every time you fire one bullet, we'll take 10 acres of you.
Hi, Arun. Thank you very much for having me on your show. You know, I don't think that that's a fair assessment. I think, you know, as you mentioned in your introduction, the investigation, finding these people, drawing out the blueprint of what happened, why it happened, and how did it happen, is a very painstaking work. And I think we should allow the agencies whatever time they need to make sure that ultimately when the case is brought, is complete in all respect and it's watertight. About increasing the cost for Pakistan, for every time they do this, you see, any normal state, after the surgical strikes in Uri and after the Balakot strike after Pulwama, would have learnt its lesson and realized that terrorism is not the way forward, that if you want to live as a normal labor, then you have to change your methodology, you have to change your stance. Unfortunately, Pakistan is not a normal state when it comes to India. It feels that this is the way forward, and the entire infrastructure of terror, the entire architecture of terror that Pakistan has evolved for the last 30 years, they themselves, even if they were serious, would find it extremely difficult to dismantle. They are not serious because the blowback will be so severe in Pakistan itself that they don't even want to try. It's far easier for them to direct this outwards. So ultimately they have to be, this time, I think the opportunity has to be taken to make sure that the lesson that they have learned is not a one-off. It's not just one attack and you feel and you think that they will imbibe the lesson. If the lesson has to be so severe and has to degrade Pakistan's terror architecture and infrastructure, by which I mean basically you have to degrade the Pakistan army, because it is the Pakistan army that is probably the biggest terrorist group.
Yeah.
At least it is the group that is sustaining this terror architecture. So unless and until you degrade the Pakistan army's capabilities, you will continue to have this problem every 3 or 4 years. So I think this time, I think the Prime Minister has been very serious in his assertions. The kind of operational freedom he has given to the 3 services to choose their mode, choose their time and choose their place of what they want to do. So there is a very serious intent by the government of India. I know there is a lot of anxiety amongst the people and a lot of impatience also that why is not being done. But I would like to make one point here, that the action that we did within 24 hours of holding the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance will probably be the most long-term, impactful measure that India has taken. Already you find that Pakistan is a water-stressed country. It is really depending on day to day for water coming in from in the Indus water system. Any disruption, I'm not even talking about withholding of water, any disruption of water supplies immediately impacts agriculture, both because now we're coming into the early Kharif sowing season. It is also the maturing of the cotton crop. This will damage Pakistan right at its roots. So I think we should be a little bit more patient as far as the kinetic action is concerned.
We'll try and put out those IWT satellites also, satellite images also, because there is a drying up in certain passages which is already happening even as Ambassador Deepak Vohra walks in. Let's share another dimension. Dr. Ranganathan and Ambassador Deepak Vohra coming to you now. In a rare admission, what's happened is Pakistan's Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto has acknowledged that the country's past ties with extremist groups were there. He told Sky News that Pakistan has a past. We have suffered and learned lessons. His remarks come after Pakistan Defence Minister Khwaja Asif's confession that Islamabad backed terror outfits for decades and did the dirty work for the US during that time. Now, this comes even as Pakistan continues its misinformation campaign after the Pahalgam terror attack that killed 26 people, and it's the same boilerplate explanations that come through, false flag. It's a graded kind of a measure that they do. But let's listen into these two and then we'll take the conversation forward.
Looking forward.
We have been doing this dirty work for the United States for about 3 decades, and West, including Britain.
So that's your argument that even though
that was a mistake, and we suffered for that, and that is why you are saying this to me. If we had not joined the war against Soviet Union and later on the war after 9/11, this Pakistan's track record, was not unimpeachable track record.
As far as what the defense minister said, I don't think that it's a secret that Pakistan has a past as far as extremist groups are concerned. And as a result of this, we have suffered. Pakistan has suffered. We've gone through wave after wave of extremism. We went through the Islamization and militarization of our society. But as a result of what we suffered, we also learned our lessons. We've gone through internal reforms in order to address this problem, not only for us, but also it's a concern of the international community.
Now, before I bring in Ambassador Deepak Vora, Dr. Anand Ranganathan, has Bilawal Bhutto just accepted that Pakistan dances to the highest bidder, or it barks and it will, to the person who throws the bone? Is that what they have now openly admitted?
Good evening, Anand, first of all, and good evening to my fellow panelists. First of all, it is a pleasure and an honor to be sharing the panel with so many luminaries who are experts, from ambassadors to military generals and to policy makers. So, and I include you as expert as well. So whatever I say, please.
I'm as lay as a common person just wants to ensure that this doesn't happen again. We want this entity dismembered. That's all.
Yes. Yeah. But in many ways, I think this is perhaps one of the most important debates we're having, given the fact that Pahalgam happened, but we're having it after 10 days. So kudos to you, and I'll explain to you why. I don't think this is anymore about Pakistan, that our Indian armed forces are well-nigh capable of countering with the mightiest of forces. The most important discussion we're having today is what else if it isn't about Pakistan. And please allow me a couple of minutes, because I think this is very important. Now, we know that Pakistan is a rogue terror state. There is absolutely no doubt about it. You have these leaders, and this is not just this week. For years, they've been saying this, accepting this, admitting this, that they are a rogue terrorist state and they've trained terrorists. Imran Khan said it on the floor of the Pakistan Assembly. People have agreed to it. So that's not news. Now, this is a state that refused to accept its dead during Kargil. If you remember, it refused during the Kargil war even to admit that Pakistani armed forces were involved in it.
Yeah.
It was only in Parvez Musharraf's biography that he admitted in 2005 that 425 Pakistani armed personnel were actually killed. And in 2010, it was Nawaz Sharif who accepted that yes, Pakistan refused to accept the dead bodies. We buried them.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the treacherous nature of a country that refuses to accept its martyrs? Number two, it is refusing to accept its living. Right now, there are hundreds of Pakistanis who are stuck on the Atari border because Pakistan will not accept them.
Yeah.
But the fact is not about Pakistan refusing to accept its dead or its living. The point here is, and here I come to the nitty-gritty, that Indians are accepting Pakistanis. And here, if I may, I've already said this, we are looking at a hyena outside our home, but not seeing the elephant in the room. And I want to talk about the next minute about it, because I agree with whatever the good general said, except the fact when he says that the terrain is helping the terrorists. I apologize, but I'm at variance out here. It is not the terrain, it is the traitors who are helping the terrorists. Let me draw an analogy. Back in the 80s, the terrain of Punjab is very different from the terrain of Kashmir. But we saw, I'm a child of the 70s and 80s, we saw how day after day, scores of terrorists who were trained in Pakistan infiltrated the border, the Punjab-Pakistan border, not the Kashmir border. That itself tells you that they were being helped by traitors here. Now, right now, there are 4 Indian states that share a border with Pakistan: Gujarat, Rajasthan, Punjab and Kashmir. Why is it that such massacres are happening only in Kashmir? The simple reason is, in the 80s, it was the traitors in Punjab who were helping the infiltration. Right now, they are the traitors in Kashmir. So it's not the terrain that helps them. I mean, it might to some extent. But the fact of the matter is, it is Indians who helped them. So in the 80s, the Khalistani terrorists were able to come not through Kashmir but through Punjab because they were being helped by Indians. And right now, the terrorists are coming through Kashmir. So we have to take care of the internal threat much more than the external. And lastly, and I apologize again because I'm at variance out here again with the good general when he says 90% of the problem doesn't exist. I'm sorry. Suddenly the problem you will see facing you right in the face when you have a terrorist, indigenous terrorist killed in Kashmir. Why else would you have lakhs of Kashmiris pouring on for the funeral to eulogize the terrorist Burhan Wani? Why else would you have tens of thousands of ordinary Kashmiris who we believe have reformed themselves pouring on for the funerals of Nasrallah and terrorist Yahya? So this problem will never end until the state takes a decision. That is what I mean. Out here, when you have Pakistan to be dealt with, our armed forces are the supreme powers who will take a decision. But as far as internal threat, our politicians have to be frank, recognize the elephant in the room. You have to restore the demography of Kashmir. You even possibly have to look at border areas being called as Disturbed Areas Act being brought in, or something like the ethnic integration policy that Singapore has. Yeah. If you don't do it, I'm afraid you're just pushing things under the carpet.
Right. Okay, here's where I am at variance with you, Dr. Ranganathan. 2016 and 2025, there are two different scenarios. In 2016, if they came out on the streets for Burhan Wani, in 2025, they came out on the streets in favor of the Hindus who were massacred there. That's what we saw in Jammu and Kashmir. So there is a change on ground. Yes, that number exists, that there are traitors within, they need to be identified and punished, but there is a sea change in the mindset of the people. The moment there was open communication, it was not one-way traffic as far as the communication is concerned. People have seen the integration and the value of staying with Bharat, and I think that is being appreciated. The economic penury on the other side is the other part where I am a little bit in variance with you is this entire continuum, the thought continuum which is there. There are radicals. The issue is not the people on the streets, it's the people who are trying to preach inside these who are sitting on the mimbar. And Muhammad Arif Khan Sahab had a very sane point to say that only 4% of the Muslims in Bharat go to the madrasas, but these are the 4% who eventually go and occupy the mimbars and then brainwash the remaining 96%. So that needs to be changed, and that has not been curtailed. And that's where I think the problem is. Internally we have to deal with it, but externally we have to also ensure that there is a deterrent, that somebody sitting on the other side doesn't think of coming to this side. And when a Bilawal Bhutto says we had an extremist past, does that absolve them, Ambassador Vora?
No, but thank you very much. Always a privilege to be on just one of the world's best channels with an outstanding anchor, even though he's extremely modest.
You're always very kind. Thank you.
May I just simply say to you, sir, we are trained in diplomacy, 52 years counting. I'm 74 years young. My guru is Chanakya. So if I look at it in that perspective, there are 57 countries that profess to follow the precepts of Islam, members of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Till 9/11, the country that everybody said was the source, the fountainhead of all kinds of terror funding, etc., was Saudi Arabia. 9/11 happened and suddenly Pakistan inherited that mantle. Today, sir, if the reputation of Islam is terrible across the world, one has to blame Pakistan. Now, as far as this Billy Bunter, what did you say the fellow's name is?
Bilawal Bhutto.
Ah, that's right. Now, as far as, this fat chap, as far as he's concerned, why is he suddenly acknowledging this, that we are making a clean break with the past? I'll tell you why, sir. Because the mood in Pakistan at the moment, one, we have that mad Mullah Munir. He's going to be booted out. There is no question. He's going to be sacrificed. He'll be made the scapegoat. This guy, this Billy Bunter, is positioning himself to be the oh so decent fellow who should be the next Prime Minister of Pakistan. He is reaching out to other countries that, listen, darlings, I am reformed. I'm going to be a very moderate leader, much like my buddy, the person I've met, Mohammed bin Salman, who is now trying to modernize everything. These countries are moving ahead, UAE, etc. Whereas Pakistan, you have that fellow who talks of Riyasat-e-Madina. And by the way, he speaks terrible Arabic. I speak Arabic. He was quoting from the Quran. I couldn't understand a word of what the buffoon was saying. I'm talking about this mad Mullah Munir. So here, Bilawal Bhutto, this character, is saying, yes, he's a terrible chap. We'll hang him. We'll do this and that. But please help me to become the Prime Minister of Pakistan. There can be no other explanation for this change of heart. It is totally insincere. It's a game that he's playing to fool the international community. What happens to Pakistan, sir? Wait, give me 30 seconds more.
No, please take it.
We are children of Chanakya, right? Sam, Dam, Bhed, Dan. Sam means persuasion. Its international reputation is in tatters. That's the work of diplomats like me. Dan is economic measures. You know that PM had said, Hekli khatam kar diya, haath mein katora de ke bheek mangwaunga. They are doing that. Then comes Bhed. That is our intelligence people, internal dissension. We are seeing that in Pakistan. The Baloch are fighting these guys. Those guys are fighting the Pashtuns. The Pashtuns are fighting somebody else, etc. And finally is Dand. The first Dand we are doing is the Indus Waters Treaty. In 3 months, sir, take it from me. I'm special advisor in Kargil and Leh. I can tell you it's going to hurt like hell. People who say, oh, we don't have the infrastructure, they don't understand a thing about it. It's a totally unequal territory, treaty. May I tell you something, sir? You've heard about the Mangla Dam in Pakistan. You've heard about the Tarbela Dam. Do you know they were built with my money? The money that we gave them in 1960 because all the irrigation canals were on our side and so on. It was my money that built those two dams. How long will an unequal treaty like this last? I'm glad we have done it. Finally will be the kinetic action. What I'm seeing in Pakistan is what I call the insanity of insecurity. They are very concerned, they are very confused, they don't know what's going to happen. So what did we say? They said India is going to hit us within, what was it, between
24 to 36 hours.
24 to 36 hours. So in diplomacy and in corporate matters, we call this pretexting. Pretexting. That means you invent a threat that, oh, this is going to happen. The heavens are going to fall down. And then you say, haha, look at me, man of iron, I prevented that from happening. That threat never existed, but it was invented in order to have a pretext. This is what we call pretexting. This is what these characters are doing. There is total chaos and confusion. And let me assure you, sir, we've tried all the goody stuff. We've tried surgical strike, this, that, and the other. The only solution today, sir, and I say this after considerable anger, sir, may I also acknowledge that I'm a Pashtun, sir. My father was a Pathan, Hindu Pathan, a Sanatani Pathan. My mother was a Sikh. So, to the Pakistanis, I want to say, watch out for the venom of the cobra, the teeth of the tiger, and the vengeance of the Pathan. This time, taking revenge is not a personal satisfaction. You take revenge to remove the cause for which you are taking revenge. You don't want to do it only to satisfy your ego.
But that intent has to be shown, Ambassador Saab.
It's being shown, sir. Let me assure you that they are in total confusion.
Viewers will understand that at Balakot, yes, we wanted to get our soldier back, but then we shouldn't have let up once the soldier was returned. We should have continued to push and we should have taken back certain portions that still belong to us. We didn't. And we came back, we hang back. We went up to 30 kilometers at Lahore in 1971 and we came back. Why did we come back? We always do that. And the Pakistanis think that we will just pinch their butt or kick them once on their backside and then we'll come back. We shouldn't. We got to stand on that backside and say, this belongs to me now. See, that attitude this government has to show, that's what I'm saying. And there is another aspect. See, what happens now is that it's a two-pronged fight now. An intel note on China-Pakistan nexus reveals how Pakistan is expected to follow Beijing's orders. What's new? Beijing's orders in the event of any escalation. Now, the note has been accessed by CNN News 18 and this alliance will be crucial during any limited conflict between Bharat and Pakistan, serving as a testing ground for Chinese technology and influencing global defense strategies. The note reveals how China is using Pakistan as a proxy to destabilize Bharat, thereby avoiding direct confrontation. Like I said, whoever throws the bone, they start barking for them and act on their commands. This time it is China. The alliance will shape the geopolitical landscape of South Asia, with Bharat likely aligning more closely with US, Japan and Australia, that's the Quad, while Pakistan falls victim to China's string of pearls strategy. Beijing aims to avoid direct conflict, focusing on the security of the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC, and regional stability. If you look at the map carefully, you must realize that CPEC is right at the top of Gilgit-Baltistan. It's a very small stretch. There is a huge area of POJK before Gilgit-Baltistan where the Chinese have no play at all. Asymmetric warfare against Bharat is central to Beijing's strategy to limit Bharat's regional influence. China is expected to avoid overt military intervention but will likely support Pakistan through cyber warfare, intel sharing. That's what the note reveals. And top intel sources further indicate that by supporting Pakistan militarily and diplomatically, Beijing intends to keep Bharat occupied in regional conflicts, thereby thwarting our own growth story. The CPEC, a flagship project of China's Belt and Road Initiative, is crucial for both countries economically. The Gwadar port and infrastructure investments worth around 62 billion give China strategic access to the Indian Ocean, countering Bharat's naval dominance. Now, that's all stuck. This is all money which is stuck, nearly 200 billion worth of it. Pakistan's military arsenal relies heavily on Chinese weapons, including JF-17 fighter jets, the HQ-9 air defense systems, and sources say joint ventures such as the Karachi nuclear power plant, Kanup, are also significant. Pak uses Chinese wing Loong-2 drones to smuggle arms into Jammu and Kashmir and benefits from Chinese provided encrypted communication tools for militant coordination. Now, in this case, the terrorists were using Chinese apps. That's also intelligence very clearly. China backed Pakistan's call for an independent probe, knowing it was executed through proxy groups like TRF or the PAFF. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi has endorsed Pakistan's narrative, reflecting a dual approach. China shields terrorist groups like the Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed and international forums, and has blocked UN sanctions against JEM leaders like Abdul Rauf Asghar, enabling Pakistan's plausible deniability. Now, China is also expected to accelerate weapons deliveries to Pakistan, including missiles and drones, to bolster its defenses. Sources have told CNN News 18 that this was evident in 2019 when Pak showcased Chinese hardware during tensions after Pulwama attack. Then China may also offer emergency loans or CPEC-linked investments to stabilize Pakistan's economy amid sanctions or trade disruptions. And a conflict would test Chinese versus Western and NATO standard weaponry such as the Rafale versus the Pakistani JF-17s, influencing Chinese arms sales in conflict-prone regions. That's what sources have said. Now, so let's go back to our guest, Ambassador Deepak Gora, then Tilak Devasharji, your thoughts, and then we'll go back to General Kulkarni and also Anand Ranganathan.
So, a question that people like Mr. Deveshwar, who is a legend and whose knowledge is in the ionosphere, beyond the stratosphere, why does China hate India? I'll take you back to the middle of the 19th century, the Opium Wars, when the Chinese emperor banned opium from India, and then the British Indian army, mainly Indian soldiers, went and beat the hell out of the Chinese. That has impacted their psyche. Why do they hate the Japanese? 1890, 1880, whatever it was, the Japanese-China war, when the Japanese beat the daylight out of them, and again just before the Second World War. So, we have two Rottweilers. We have North Korea, and we tell them to bark, and they go, bow, wow, wow, towards Japan. And we have the second Rottweiler, which is Pakistan. Bark and he go, woo, towards India. That is China, sir. All this nonsense about friendship between India and China, don't believe a word of it, sir. They do not want a strong, prosperous India. They tell us whenever I talk to these guys outside, those who have left the country, that you are the rock, you are the cliff that stands between us and domination of Asia. So let's not get into all this mushy thing. Oh, great civilization, rubbish. It's no civilization. I'm sorry to use tough language, sir. Diplomacy we're not supposed to. Let me just put it to you that China is not going to stop helping Pakistan. Pakistan in its present form will make all kinds of pious pledges and go right back. The only way, sir, they tell us we are fighting a two-front war. Pakistan is fighting a five-front war, sir. In Balochistan, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, they are fighting Iran, they are fighting Afghanistan, they are fighting their own people. Let's make it a six-front war. Fight us and we'll split you, sir. Maybe the world will be a better place. Pakistan in its present form, and I conclude, Pakistan in its present form is no benefit to our planet. Its disappearance in its present form will be no loss to our planet.
Well, a lot of people would agree with that, but how are we going to execute this? Do we have the ability, the diplomatic leverage, and also geopolitically, do we have nations that will allow us or look the other way when we do this? Tilak Devasharji, your thoughts?
You see, first of all, Anand, even before Pahalgam took place, Pakistan was slowly but surely imploding from within. As Ambassador Vora mentioned about Balochistan, mentioned about the Pashtuns, mentioned about, and Sindh and Punjab have a problem.
They have a project.
They have a huge water crisis as it is. Before we held the treaty in abeyance, the population is going at 2.55%. 50% of children in Pakistan don't go to primary school. So where are they going to go to secondary? Where are they going to go to higher education? So, for all these reasons, Pakistan is already imploding. And there is no leadership, no vision that can understand or take remedial measures. Now, on top of it, they have taken up Anga with India. And this time around, and I am convinced that the government is going to use this opportunity to make sure that Pakistan doesn't bother us in the future. It's a question of us being patient. And even China, you see, China disappointed Pakistan in 1965. It disappointed them in 1971. It disappointed them during Kargil. China will go up to a point and then tell them, listen, you better back off. Don't push us into a conflict like this. Because this is not the Chinese conflict. China will support Pakistan to, irritate India, to keep India bogged down in Asia, But more than that, they're not going to put boots on the ground for the sake of Pakistan. And the day China needs Pakistani support against India, I would really feel sorry for China. It considers itself this large power and it needs Pakistani support. Come on, give me a break. So for all these reasons, I think I would advise a lot of patience and trust in the government, trust in our armed forces, and trust in the measures that already you have taken, and more that will come. And hopefully, in the next couple of weeks or months, we would have, to a large measure, taken care of this problem of Pakistan.
Now, we got some other inputs also. I just would like to put that out. So, Dr. Ranganathan and General Kulkarni, I'll come to you one by one after just sharing this, that there are two deadly organizations, Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba. One operates from Bahawalpur, the other one is centered in Muridpur. But they are led by deadlier commanders. It's not Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar anymore. It's their operational commanders who are the sons, the brothers. Rauf Asghar of Jaish believes in high-intensity attacks. There is Sajid Jatt of Lashkar who prefers sustained insurgency under the guidance of the ISI, now posing long-term threat to regional stability. Rauf Asghar is the mastermind behind some of the deadliest attacks in Bharat, including the 2001 Parliament attack, the 2016 Pathankot airbase assault and the 2019 Pulwama bombing that resulted in the death of 40 CRPF personnel. So if we want someone, we need this guy. We need the likes of Sajid Jatt, we need Abu Musa, we need the operational commanders before we get Lakhvi, Saeed and Azhar and Salahuddin. That's the reality of the situation today. Now, he's also orchestrated the 1999 Kandahar hijacking, which led to the release of Masood Azhar. Rauf Asghar embodies JEM, sectarian radicalism and high-risk operations. On the other hand, Sajid Jatt represents LET's insurgency closely aligned with the ISI. While Rauf's attacks have been immediate, devastating impacts, Jatt's adaptive insurgency presents a prolonged challenge to regional peace. EAM News 18 is now getting into the operational methods of the two terrorists. Let's try and understand this. The commanders of Jaish and Lashkar share similar goals but differ in ideologies and tactics. Rauf is from the Deobandi sect, emphasizes strict Sunni orthodoxy and violence against Shias and other minorities. His leadership has led to internal splits within the Jaish, with members rebelling against Masood Azhar for prioritizing Kashmir over global jihad. Sajid Jatt is influenced by the Ahle Hadith sect, followed by LET, aligns with Salafism and focuses on Kashmir-centric jihad while avoiding direct confrontation with Pakistani state. Unlike JEM, LET maintains close ties with the ISI. Post-2019, TRF, a proxy of the LET, was created to portray terrorism as a local Kashmiri movement, thereby avoiding international scrutiny. Rauf Asghar, he is the one who masterminded the attacks in 2001, the 2016 Pathankot, 2019 Pulwama. So, he relies on encrypted devices, public rallies in Pakistan to incite violence, as seen in his 2017 speech threatening an attack bigger than Pathankot. Lashkar maintains a structured hierarchy under Hafiz Saeed, with TRF acting as a deniable proxy. Sajid Jatt coordinates with senior LET leaders and ISI handlers. LED fighters are trained in Taliban-controlled Afghanistan and associated with Al-Qaeda. They are suspected of procuring encrypted technology through ISI and China networks. Now, this is how these people function. They have their own differences, but they used to fight in isolation, General Sahab, but now they are also coordinating. कोई logistic support देता है, कोई arms देता है, कोई drone उड़ा देता है, कोई अपने बंदे भेज रहा है. So they are also coordinating, because the cost of waging this fight in proxy war is slowly becoming dearer for them too. Your thoughts, sir?
Anand, what happens is, if you have to completely, comprehensively dismantle this terror structure in Pakistan, then you have to eliminate the source. And that source is the military of Pakistan. Musharraf has time and again said that for America, we have the Mujahideens, we had the Taliban, and we had the mercenaries. He's speaking of mercenaries to the tune of about 15 to 20,000. Mujahideens, equal number. And then they say the madrasas are the ones responsible for raising Taliban, and then the local Afghans. All this just to do away with the communists, the Soviet Union at that time. He says, where are these people? The Soviets have left, the Americans have also left, they are all in Pakistan, lakhs of them. He says it's impossible, it's a wild west. Pakistan is a wild west filled with these kind of radical Islamist people who are hell-bent to destroy the world. That's the way they're looking at it. So the only way for us also, we must be cool, it must not be, it should be done tomorrow,
not be knee-jerk.
time bomb, result oriented. Strike them. We have to. We will never ever fall back. Economically, let it be. China is responsible and it will ensure to continue to use Pakistan like what Tilak sir is saying, keep us boxed in the South Asia. That's the aim. Not let India grow economically. But that's not the way. India will grow economically. There is nothing stopping India today from growing economically, getting to the way we want to be. We are destined for it. But we have to sort out Pakistan. And Pakistan, not the Pakistanis I am talking about. Neither has the Prime Minister ever mentioned the word Pakistan. It's the terror, the source of terror. The source of terror is there in Pakistan. It is being virtually nourished by Pakistan army. 5.5 lakh army is not an army. It's a bunch of terrorists.
No, but
bunch of terrorists.
So, see, if you look at it that way, then we need to have a very, very strong doctrine of statecraft, which very clearly says that whichever side they are breeding these kind of radicals, which want to bleed Bharat with 1,000 cuts, we got to go there and disseminate them before they even grow. So, Dr. Ranganathan, it does not stop with the army. If it means the army, then the fountainhead is the ISI and those people who still are haunted by the ghosts of 71. Who still are worried about the chudis that they were wearing and they cannot get over it, and that's what haunts them. But there are similar ones which are now fundamentalists who are now in Bangladesh. So Bharat has to be clear that if they don't want another Pakistan on the east, they have to ensure that this is dismantled in Bangladesh before it becomes operational like it's in Pakistan now.
No doubt about it. But here, if I may, I want to take a minute about something that's not been discussed over the last half an hour, which is that you're absolutely right that Pakistan is being handled, Pakistan, the puppet, is being handled by the ventriloquist that is China. China holds all the strings. Now the question is that we are somehow able to handle Pakistan very well. But is it news that China has traditionally always backed our enemies and specifically Pakistan? It is not news. In fact, in 2002, 2003, China, even earlier than that, China backed Kargil, Pakistan in Kargil. China backed Pakistan when it ran havoc as far as 12 terror attacks in 2000, 2004. What have we done against China? Let me give you an example. This is the problem where our armed forces have a clear-cut policy and direction, which is completely lacking in our political parties, cutting across political parties and lines. Let me give you two examples. In 2003, 2004, we had a trade surplus with China. But by the end of UPA era 2014, we had a trade deficit lasting 3,900%. This was all during that time when China was supporting Pakistan. Now from 40 billion trade deficit in 2014 to now 110 billion trade deficit. It has increased by 175%. And in the meantime, China continues to help Pakistan. China has conducted Galwan. China has wrecked the world economy, killed millions through COVID. China, somehow we are not paying China in the same currency as we are paying Pakistan. And I think unless we have a clear focus of our politicians, I'm afraid Pakistan will continue to garner help from China and we won't be able to do much about it.
Okay. Now, I've got limited time, so I just want to quickly look at how are the Muslim nations reacting, how is the Muslim world reacting, and then get everybody's thoughts. Now, this is Manoj Kumar Gupta, our Network 18 Group Editor, Investigations and Security Affairs, getting us these inputs. Top Indian diplomatic sources have told CNN News 18 that the Muslim majority governments or the Muslim world, the Islamic world, prioritize geopolitical and economic interests over religious solidarity. Gulf states like Saudi Arabia, the UAE and Qatar now rely heavily on India for trade, energy exports and labour, which has tempered their willingness to support Pakistan unconditionally. This is what they've added. The Muslim world's reaction to the crisis is driven by strategic restraint rather than unified support for Pakistan. Now, Iran and Turkey, they say, are making moves towards diplomatic solidarity, while Gulf states are giving importance to economic and regional stability. Iran has already proposed mediation to de-escalate tensions and positioned itself as a neutral party rather than backing Pakistan. They themselves have an axe to grind with the Pakistanis. Saudi Arabia is taking a calibrated, pragmatic position. That's what a source has said. It has not issued strong public statements. Qatar has also not publicly supported Pakistan. The UAE has criticized India's suspension of Indus Waters Treaty but refrained from endorsing Pakistan. Turkey has historically backed Pakistan on Kashmir, but sources said it faces constraints due to growing trade with Bharat, 10 billion in 2024. So your thoughts Your thoughts, Ambassador Deepakora, the Muslim nation.
Well, of the 57 countries that profess Islam, you've mentioned Turkey, run by that half Darban. What is his name? Ard Darban or something like that. He wants to be the Pasha, no? He wants to revive the Ottoman Sultan. Sir, one question for minds much brighter than mine. Who is the leader of the Islamic world? Turkey? Saudi Arabia? Iran? Pakistan? What is Pakistan's claim? I have the nuclear bomb. What is Turkey's claim? I am a member of NATO. What is Saudi Arabia? I am the guardian of the two mosques. What is Iran? I am almost with the bomb and I am Shia. I really don't know. Till that is sorted out, don't expect anything. And the Turks are known for their treachery. They will dump Pakistan like this when it suits their interest.
Tilak Devashar ji?
I agree. If you look at all the countries that you've named, they all have very strong economic linkages with India, which have developed over the last few years. They also have a very strong Indian diaspora, especially in the Gulf. You know, all of them are also practical people. They're getting more and more practical. I don't think so. Pakistan, as you know, has got a terrible reputation now in Saudi Arabia and in the UAE as being a country producing beggars. You know, people are going there to beg, and UAE even withheld visas for Pakistan. So I don't see them coming out in support of Pakistan. They make lip service, but nothing more substantial than that. And I think they all know where strong relations are going to hold them in good stead with India in the future.
I think the biggest step the Saudis can do is that 9 billion of the shrinking reserves of the Pakistanis are of the Saudis. And if they say, sorry, you can't touch them, they'll be there, but you can't touch them. I think the matter is resolved and it's served. The purpose is served there. Yes, Dr. Ranganathan, I have to wind up.
No, I just wanted to say that it already was a great conversation, but it's been made better by just looking at Tilakji sipping what possibly was single malt.
I'm having water, sir. I promise you.
Anand, that's unfair. That's unfair.
All right.
Coming across sir. I'm coming to your place.
Gentlemen, that we can laugh at or smile at the end of a very, very serious conversation when our nation is at the cusp of doing something very, very big in terms of dismantling an entity that's been a bane or a pain for us. I think that itself shows that we are in a good place, and we just need to be quietly confident as we are. And the more we smile, the more the enemy is going to get nervous, because they know something big is coming. It's just around the corner. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Tonight we bring you a hard-hitting special report on a nation that has for decades played a dangerous double game. While portraying itself as a victim of terror, Pakistan has systematically sponsored and exported terrorism not just to Bharat but across the globe. This isn't hearsay. These are facts laid bare in books, backed by confessions from its own top politicians, military brass and intelligence chiefs. From Osama bin Laden's hideout near a military academy to Lashkar-e-Taiba's training camps in Muzaffarabad, the evidence is overwhelming. Multiple books, The Spy Chronicles, Pakistan Under Siege, Terrorism Revisited, and Deadly Connections detail how Pakistan's military and ISI built a network of extremist groups to wage proxy wars, especially against Bharat. Former ISI chief Asad Durrani himself admitted to Pakistan's hand in creating the Hurriyat in Kashmir, backing Hafiz Saeed, and even hinted at a deal over Osama bin Laden. Madiha Afzal, Rohan Gunaratna, Steve Call, Aisha Siddiqa, George Perkovich, and Michael Hayden. Names from around the world paint the same picture. Pakistan is not just a safe haven for terror, it is the architect. But it is not just authors or foreign analysts saying this. Let's hear from the horse's mouth, Pakistan's own leaders.
Well, we have been doing this dirty work for the United States for about 3 decades, and West, including Britain.
The Pakistani army, ISI, trained Al-Qaeda and all these groups to fight in Afghanistan. There were always links between Pakistan. There had to be links because they trained them.
स्पीकर जनाब शाह महमूद कुरैशी साहब की टांगें कांप रही थी, कह रहे थे हिंदुस्तान हमला कर रहा है। हमने हिंदुस्तान को घुस के मारा है जनाब स्पीकर वहां पे। और पुलवामा में जो कामयाबी है, पुलवामा में जो हमारी कामयाबी है, वो इमरान खान की क़यादत में इस कौम की कामयाबी है।
मुझे गद्दार कहा जाता है कि तुम्हारी ये बात हमें कबूल नहीं है। भाई आओ फिर एक कौमी कमीशन बनाओ, एक कौमी कमीशन बनाओ, आओ फिर इसका हिसाब किताब अब हो जाए।
Pakistan's military hasn't been silent either. From General Musharraf to ISPR chiefs and even the Pakistan Army's own admissions, there is enough to indict an entire state machinery.
हम मुजाहिदीन लाए पूरी दुनिया से। ओसामा बिन लादेन हमारा हीरो था।
CIA का भी था शायद।
यस, ये ज़वाहिरी हमारा हीरो था। यहाँ फिर ये लश्कर तैयबा वगैरह बनी, बहुत सी 10-12 और भी बनी। वो हमारे हीरो थे जी।
हमारे शोहदा ने दिफाए वतन की खातिर अपना आज हमारे बेहतर मुस्तकबिल के लिए कुर्बान किया, मगर मैं आपको यकीन दिलाता हूँ कि इनका खून रायगा नहीं जाएगा।
Pakistan's so-called strategic assets have now turned on it too. The Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, nurtured by its own policies, has claimed thousands of lives within the country. The Frankenstein is now devouring its maker. In a shocking revelation, even Pakistan's own investigators, the Federal Investigation Agency, confirmed that 2611 mastermind Zakiur Rahman Lakhvi trained in official camps inside Pakistan. Top US officials, including former CIA Director Michael Hayden and Admiral Mike Mullen, have called out Pakistan's duplicity. Hayden confirmed.
Brought to you.
Government sources have revealed to CNN News 18 that post the Pahalgam terror strike, the US is following the same drill with India and Pakistan as it did after Uri and Pulwama terror strikes, which is backing India's limited counter-strike on terrorism while urging no further escalation, saying India has a right to defend itself, urging for India-Pakistan direct communication and telling Pakistan to act against terrorists on its soil. Let me now go to my colleague Aman Sharma, who has got us this information. Aman, take us through the details of the communication that has happened between the US and Pakistan. Clear statement, clear message is being sent out to Pakistan that you need to work as far as terrorism in Pakistan is concerned.
Well, absolutely, Sharon. What the US is currently doing is following the same, de-escalation playbook that we can say with both India and Pakistan. We have seen the US say the same things even after Uri and Pulwama. But India is very clear that India will do what it needs to do. India will do its job. The Prime Minister, the Home Minister have promised the harshest response against the perpetrators and planners of the Pahalgam terror strikes. The Defense Minister yesterday, for the first time, has named Pakistan for supporting, training and funding terrorists while speaking to his counterpart. So essentially what the US is trying to tell India is that, look, we back your limited counter-strike on terrorism. You have the right to defend yourself, but don't further, escalate matters. It is urging India-Pakistan direct communication, telling Pakistan also to act against terrorists on its soil. And this is something that, we saw US also doing in 2019 and 2016. If I remember correctly, 2019, we had John Bolton, the then US NSA, telling Mr. Ajit Doval that, America supports India's right to self-defense. We saw the same line from the US Secretary of Defense yesterday to Mr. Rajnath Singh, saying that US does support India's right to defend itself. But you also see the statement of J.D. Vance on Thursday, where he has said that he hopes that India responds to the Pahalgam terror conflict in a way that does not lead to a broader regional conflict. This shows that US backs a limited strike for India. In 2019 also, Mr. Pompeo at that time, had termed India's strike at Balakot as a counter-terrorism post. And Donald Trump, then who was also the US president, had said that, he understands why Delhi was seeking a strong response to the Pulwama strike. But US wants India to not go any further. And this is what, seems like the textbook that let's de-escalate. But India is very, very clear that, it has promised the harshest response. And, the US is saying what it has to say. The India will do what it has to do. That seems a clear strategy inside the Indian government. So we'll have to wait a few days to see how this plays out. But one thing is very clear that, the message that in post Uri and post Pulwama, India did carry out surgical strikes inside Pakistan. And right now also the Prime Minister has promised the harshest response.
All right. Many thanks, Aman, for getting us that exclusive information as far as the entire escalation between India and Pakistan is concerned. I request Aman as well as Siddhant to please stay with us as as we are getting a series of reaction on this. Let's listen that first.
We are monitoring closely. Yesterday, for those of you who were unaware of this, the Secretary spoke with Indian External Affairs Minister Jaishankar and Pakistani Prime Minister Sharif. As the President articulated to Prime Minister Modi last week, the United States stands strong with India against terrorism, and Prime Minister Modi has our full support. The Secretary encouraged both countries to work toward a responsible solution.
For as a position of principle, we strongly condemn any act of terrorism, and this is what we did on this heinous terrorist attack that took place in Pahalgam. So we had the death of innocent.
Good evening, you're watching Brass Tacks with me, Poonam Borde. It's been 10 days since Pakistan-backed terrorists killed 26 civilians in cold blood in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam. The hunt for those dastards is on. The NIA, the Army, the J&K Police and all other agencies are working in tandem in full swing to identify, track and punish, as the Prime Minister put it, all of these terrorists. But India is not going to stop at just that. India's aim is to cut off the head of the snake. And to do so, New Delhi is now turning the screws in Pakistan.